right after the presentation. So I'm just going to hand over now to our engineer to give us her presentation on environmental protection through decentralized solutions, a case study of Longacres Market and decentralized solid waste management system. Thank you, engineer. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for the introduction. It's really such a pleasure to share this time with you and share also the insights from this particular project. Like our host has mentioned, my name is Engineer Angela Kapembwa. And at the end of the presentation, I surely will be looking forward to the discussions that will come out from it and also the resolutions that we will make from this session. So I'll go right ahead and share my screen. If you could give me just a moment to set it up, and if I could get some feedback when you are able to see it.
We are able to see it, engineer.
Okay, are you able to see the presentation or something else?
We are able to see the presentation.
Fantastic. Just making sure because I have so many windows open. Okay. Right, so I'll get right into it. Just as our host mentioned, this presentation brings out how we can see environmental protection through decentralized solutions. Maybe before I go on, host, how many minutes do I have? Because we can speak for hours and hours. Hello? How many minutes do I have, host?
You have 30 minutes to do the presentation, engineer.
Okay, thank you so much. Right, so yes, so this presentation is just bringing out how we see environmental protection through decentralized solutions, and we will do this through a case study of a project that was implemented, which is the Longacres Market decentralized solid waste management system. And I know that can be a mouthful, so throughout the presentation we can refer to it as LAM-DESWAM, which is really just the abbreviation of this long statement. So just as an outline of my presentation, I will start off by just speaking about Border, which is the institution that I'm working for, speak about who we are and what we do, where our main focus areas are. Then we'll get into the project objectives and how they tie down, or how this process of the project contributes to environmental protection. And at the end of the presentation, just as our host said, I encourage that we get interacting and we get to hear some of the insights and questions, contributions as well, that you might have. Who are we as Border Zambia? Border Zambia, or rather Border as a global institution, has been in existence for 46 years now. And it specializes in the field of sustainable environmental protection through integrative sanitation solutions. We see sanitation here, and I would like that we should take into consideration the broad spectrum that sanitation encompasses. So this is wastewater, this is solid waste management, and also including public health protection. We also aim at making neighborhoods more livable by developing and implementing innovative on-site sanitation solutions, strengthen social structures, and also fostering sustainable and attentive handling of natural resources. We support holistic approaches on policy formulation, participatory urban planning processes, and infrastructure development. So not only do we speak about these livable cities, but we also go ahead and implement these innovative solutions so as to participate in environmental protection. Our activities focus very strongly on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by enabling the transition towards livable and inclusive cities. And in respect, Border designs and implements innovative system packages and we do this in a holistic way together with local and global partners. We also aim and we also focus on fostering capacity building, and we facilitate dialogue between civil society organizations, communities, government entities, the private sector, scientific institutions, and international organizations. So we really look at a broad spectrum of sector players, and we try to include and involve each one of them throughout the planning and implementation process, because we believe that the insights from all of these players do contribute to the functionality and the sustainability of any intervention. We have four main focus areas of interest to us as an institution. The first being decentralized sanitation solutions, the second, knowledge management, the third, research and development, and lastly, advocacy and awareness raising. When we speak of decentralized sanitation solutions, we go in to plan and implement sustainable decentralized solutions for water, wastewater, stormwater, fecal sludge management, and solid waste management. And we do so to close the water cycle and the nutrient cycle, and also promote resource recovery and also reuse of any byproducts that come out from the solutions that we promote. This integrates ecological, health, and socio-economic concerns. When we look at our knowledge management portfolio, we develop and share knowledge documents, training curricula, and packages. And we also facilitate knowledge exchange and capacity development activities. And we also contribute in development of policy guidelines and standards through technical input and expertise. We're very strong on our research and development because we believe that innovation requires new knowledge. Innovation requires understanding the processes that we promote and that we recommend. And so we conduct applied research, M&E, and also quality management, and we also take pride in implementing quality management systems. And lastly, we conduct advocacy and awareness raising activities on all intervention levels. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we look at the broad spectrum of stakeholders involved within a project activity. So from the grassroots, which is the communities, the members on the ground who would actively be involved in the operations of a project, all the way to the policy makers who are creating that enabling environment for a particular intervention to function. And we also strengthen networks and connect these local, regional, and global actors. So before I get into the specifics of LAM-DESWAM, I want us to go forward with two particular definitions in mind: environmental protection and public health. The reason I bring these two up is because these two marry very tightly, because the effects of one contribute to the other. So when we speak of environmental protection, we're basically talking about, all the measures that we take to conserve, to maintain, or to preserve the state of the environment through reduction of pollutants or anything that may lead to the degradation of the environment. And when we speak of public health, we're speaking about, the practices or the study or the science of protecting and improving the health of people and communities. So when we conserve and maintain and preserve our environment and reduce the pollutants going into the environment, we automatically are improving the health of the people in the communities, because it's these pollutants that bring about disease, that bring about epidemics. And so that's why I would want us to use or to bring out these two components very strongly in this discussion, and that is environmental protection and public health. And I'll bring them up together even as we are speaking about the LAM-DESWAM, because both of them are seen evident from the outcomes of this project. So we start off with a little bit of a background of the project. It was implemented under the funding of the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, abbreviated as BMZ, and it was handed over in March, that should have been March 2021. Actually, March 2022, I got that wrong. So March 2022 was the official handover of this particular project. And the main objectives of this project, firstly, was to reduce the amount of solid waste being transferred to the landfill. So it came about from understanding that within the public spaces, there is need for innovative solid waste management practices, because it's in these spaces that a lot of waste is generated, and most, if not all of it, taken to Chunga dump site, where there is already an overload of solid waste accumulating there. And even that accumulation of solid waste within the public space, which is the market, and also at the dump site, is affecting environmental protection and, of course, public health. And so this particular problem was identified and the project was birthed. And of course, the first objective was to reduce the amount of waste reaching the landfill, and also to improve solid waste management practices and services at the market. So this is in line with the fact that a lot of waste, different streams of waste, were mixed and taken to the dump site. And so with this particular objective to improve solid waste management practices was in the aim of introducing the concept of waste separation. The third objective was to contribute towards improved public health in the market, as well as environmental protection. As I elaborated earlier, the link between the two, and how solid waste is one of the pollutants that contributes to public health being a risk, or poor public health within a public space. And so improved solid waste management directly contributes to improved public health and also improved environmental protection. And lastly, the objective was to promote positive behavioral change on solid waste management practices. And this ties to the second objective, where the introduction of waste separation or waste segregation comes in as a behavioral change within a public space. So the concept was anchored on three pillars. The first being the project preparation, the awareness raising and capacity strengthening, and then the hardware implementation. So first things first is we sat down around the table and prepared who and what is required for this particular project to be a success. So the preparation included getting into some stakeholder engagement, identifying the stakeholders and mapping them according to their importance and influence. We needed to get an endorsement from the key stakeholders, being the market in themselves and the city council. And also we went ahead and did some data collection. So among the preparatory steps and the stakeholders identified for this particular project, we also had one of the schools that shares a boundary with the market as the key stakeholders. Reason being, and this school is Lusaka Boys High School, secondary school. Reason that the school also came in as one of the key stakeholders is because Longacres Market is confined within a particular space, and the hardware infrastructure was not possible to implement within the market premises. And so we engaged the school and got into a partnership, if you could say, or a collaborative arrangement where we could utilize the space that they had for the hardware infrastructure planned out to be implemented. And the school would benefit from the byproducts of the treatment processes, while the market benefits from the improved environment and also the improved public health within their market. So that was the beginning, that was the first part of the concept, was the project preparation. Then we went on to the awareness raising and capacity strengthening. I'm sure all of us can agree that without this particular component, any kind of infrastructure and any kind of intervention cannot be a success. Without the understanding from the stakeholders involved and without the buy-in from the stakeholders involved, any kind of hardware implementation can be considered null and void. And so the awareness raising and capacity strengthening campaigns went on, and these were trainings in the form of trainings and of course IEC material, just to serve as a reminder or a nudge even after handover is done. So the trainings were in line with waste separation, the benefits of waste separation, understanding the different streams of waste, and also how each of them can be managed and what can be taken out from them. So the trainings also brought out the fact that we should not look at waste as something that you just do away with, but we should look at waste as a resource and something that can give back not only to us, but in this case also to the environment. So these campaigns went on, and at a certain stage, they were in parallel with the actual hardware implementation, which is the implementation of two particular facilities that were handling two different types of waste. So the two streams of waste that we focused to reduce going to the landfill is organic waste and recyclables. So the organic wastes were planned for in a decentralized solid waste management system, which is abbreviated as DESWAM, and the recyclables, inorganic recyclables, through what we call a material recovery facility, which is an MRF. So here is just an image of one component of the DESWAM, which is a biogas digester. The rest of the system includes what we call an anaerobic baffled reactor and anaerobic filter, and thereafter the effluent is allowed to soak into the ground. The school, however, are also privy to use it in their gardens for irrigation of selected crops. The system also includes a drying bed where the sludge that accumulates within the biogas digester is allowed to dry and is also taken back to the nutrient cycle or to the soil cycle and regenerates the soil as a soil conditioner. This is what the MRF looks like, which is the Material Recoveries Facility, which in essence is just the transfer station for all the inorganic recyclable materials. So when the waste is separated at the source, which is within the market shops or the market stands, the different streams are deposited into different facilities. So the organic waste go into the digester or into the DESWAM system, and the inorganic recyclable waste are what come to the MRF. So we're talking of the plastics, papers, and any other PET kind of materials, because these are the ones predominantly found in the Longacres Market. So if this particular model had to happen in another market, it would start off by understanding what type of materials or what type of waste is mostly generated there, for you to understand how big or the quantities that will be coming out or being fed into these different facilities. Right, so the key outcomes from this particular project, this is after a year of implementation, because that was last year in March, and it's been almost 1.5 years, in fact past 1.5 years now, post implementation. And what we see so far as the key outcomes is, number one, that there is improved public health conditions in the market. Before, what we would experience is that all the waste would go into the skip bin, and there was only one skip that was allocated to the market, and it would fill up or it would need to be emptied approximately twice a week, because all the waste would go in there and it would literally overflow. And so after the implementation of this particular project, we got to see that the amount of waste going into the skip bin reduced, and because of that, the frequency of collection also reduced, and that ripple or that particular effect improved the public health conditions in the market. because with that overflowing skip bin, you would have effluent coming out from the skip bin. It would invite different kind of vectors coming in, and for example, flies, especially flies. And the market has got a long stretch that has restaurants serving very delicious food. I highly recommend that you go for a meal there. They have delicious food, but because then the skip would be so full, there would be so many flies, and you're having your meal there, and instead of enjoying your meal, you're constantly fighting with these flies. But after the implementation of this project, we got to see a change in that particular aspect. And so we can safely say that one of the outcomes really has been achieved, that there is improved public health conditions in the market. Other than that, we got to see that there's less grey water, that is being spilled all around the market yard. Because what happens now is that this grey water, for example, from the Nshima pot or from the vegetable pot, would be poured into the digester. And that is also part of the process of breaking down the organic waste in the DESWAM system. And of course, like I mentioned when I spoke about environmental health and public health and how they're interlinked, the fact that we have improved public health conditions automatically contributes to environmental protection. So we see that these pollutants are not being left to go into the environment, or are not being unattended to in the environment. And so because of that, we are conserving the environment, we are maintaining and preserving the state that it is in. Additional to environmental protection, from the organic waste management, which is the DESWAM, we get to see that the byproducts of this treatment system are being returned back to the environment in a safe manner. So the effluent, like I mentioned, from this treatment system is going back into the gardens of the school, and the school has reported time and again of how bountiful their harvests have been, and how they've been able to even earn or to even increase their revenue from vegetable sales produced from their gardens. And also the stabilized sludge, which is really just the broken down solids, is taken out from the digester and put back in the soil to become a soil conditioner and mix with the soil for gardening purposes. So we also get to see this conservation and this preservation of the environment through not only the inorganic streams of waste, but also the organic streams of waste. We also see an improvement in the solid waste practices, in that the separation, of course, is still a work in progress. As we may be aware, behavior change takes so long, it's not an instant thing. So the practice of separation is still ongoing, but we do see an improvement in that what is going into the skip is not as mixed as it used to be. What is going into the MRF is strictly recyclable inorganic waste, and what is going into the DESWAM is organic waste. So this improvement is very promising, and this improvement is encouraging for behavior, for an impactful behavior change, or a mark to say that there has been impactful behavior change. And like I said, when there's less waste in the skip bin, it means that there's less going to the landfill, which is already overburdened with waste. So this is also contributing very directly to environmental protection, because the activities or the waste that is at the landfill is left there to degrade, or because it's going in as a mix of all kinds of waste. There's organics, there's inorganics. Because we have started to reduce this, less of it is going to the landfill, and because of that, we are minimizing how much is just being dumped, because the other ones are being looked at as a resource, or are being converted to a different type of product. For example, the recyclables go back, say, to be made into other products. The organics are going back into the nutrient cycle, into the water cycle, and so we have reduced waste going to the landfill. We also see one of the environmental protection and also public health protection outcomes of this project through the trapping of methane gas in the form of biogas. So this is also just a byproduct that comes from the treatment process of the organic waste. And this also shows how environmental protection can also provide as a very strong nexus between water, food, and energy. Because we see that the water that is used in the market can be transformed as the water that can be irrigated in a garden to produce food and also energy to cook the food. And then we have this complete cycle. So the trapping of the biogas has been very beneficial, and obviously for the school side, because this was the agreement, or this was the collaborative partnership that was made, that the school benefits from the byproducts of the system. And so the the biogas is being used from the households, and reports are that they're very satisfied with the quantities and the quality of the gas. And of course, like I've already mentioned, the treated effluent and the stabilized sludge from the digester are feeding into the garden at the school, and they have a bountiful harvest. And so one of the points that I was asked to also bring out in this presentation is areas of collaboration. These are just proposals, but I think even during our Q&A session, it would be nice to hear where you feel as an individual, or if there are any organizations present in this presentation, where they see potential collaborative efforts. But for me, as one of the project leads of this project, one of the areas I feel would be very strong comes in awareness raising and advocacy on solid waste management. It is very cardinal for any kind of hardware to function, or for any kind of system to be established. The people involved need to understand what solid waste management is, and appreciate and understand its importance both to public health and also environmental protection. Once that buy-in from the ground level all the way to the policymakers is understood, there is a very higher probability of this particular model working, and its effects, which is environmental protection, becoming more alive. And of course, just as it is our anchor as border, research on these processes is also something that I would see as a collaboration area. How are they working? What best approach or what changes to their approach would work? Of course, all of them are context specific, but we have this as a pilot to understand where we can pick up some research topics on the lambda swarm concept, because at the end of the day, the idea is that these particular systems should be scaled up. These are particular models that we believe are possible for public spaces, but of course they'll require that the context is fully understood, there's buy-in from all levels of the stakeholders involved, and also there's a clear awareness and appreciation of these systems working and contributing to environmental protection and public health. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful that you took the time off your Friday evening to have this discussion. These meaningful discussions are very important, and I think more of them are required, more of them are necessary for us to see a better country, for us to see better environments, and for us to feed in our knowledge and our skills to contribute even to the larger goals, global goals that we have. So thank you so much, and at this point, I would like to hand it over to our host to facilitate the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Angela Kapemba, for that wonderful presentation. Indeed, waste management is something that we've been waiting for in this country for a long time, and it is appeasing to know that there are organizations that are working towards safe waste management systems. We look forward to more of these implementations. And without taking up much time, I'm just going to now allow people to ask questions. We'll limit the session to 10 questions only. So just raise your hand, and I'll be able to see that your hand is raised. When I call out your name, you ask the question, then the presenter will be able to answer immediately. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the floor?
I can see one in the chat. I'm not sure if we'll also address those.
Please go ahead with your question. We can start with
thank you.
Question.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible enough. I'm on the road from Chingola to Kidwe, so I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, engineer, we can hear you clearly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Engineer Angela, for that wonderful presentation. I've keenly followed from the beginning, and at some point I lost connection. Yeah, there are two things that I just want to find out, because when we look at the objectives, one of them was to do with reduction of material that is being taken to for landfill. My expectation was to see numbers as in how much solid waste is being generated, and by how much we have reduced. Becomes a confirmation on the aspect of one of the things that I looked forward to was the issue of sanitation, because the critical aspect in reduction of waste is reduction of generation of waste. So I wanted to find out what are some of the things that you have transmitted to the people in the community, so that we can be able to appreciate the reduction of waste right at the resource. I would like to get comments from that. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Kombe. And I hope you're driving safely. Thank you for listening in, even as you've been on the road. I'll start with the first one, which, from my understanding, is more to do with some figures. So when we did our initial data collection, it included a waste audit, which included just understanding the streams of waste that are generated in the market. So the main interest or the main focus of the waste audit was in line with understanding how much waste is going to go into the DESWAM and how much potential waste or inorganic recyclables are going to be going to the MRF. So for the DESWAM, it was calculated that every day there's an average of about 378 kg of organic waste that will be fed into the DESWAM. And I saw in the charts, they were asking how big is it. So the biogas digester is 70 cubic meters with a radius of about 3.3. The anaerobic baffled reactor and anaerobic filter combined is 15 cubic meters. So for the organic waste, on average, it is the 300 plus kgs that is fed into it. For the inorganics, it varies. And this is because the market is open to other communities who take waste to the skip. So what we have experienced is that, yes, the marketeers, if I could say, or the shop owners would deposit, say, a certain quantity, and this quantity I can't exactly give because it's a private entity that is operating the MRF. But what would happen is that the surrounding communities would also bring in some of these inorganic recyclable materials. So what I can do, or what I can say at this point, is that they are able to generate, or they're able to break even with their operations with the amount of waste that is generated from the inorganic recyclable materials. And for the organics, the quantities that I have shared are the ones that are fed. And even for those, it might be that it's plus or minus that figure, because the number of people that are going to the market to have a meal vary from day to day. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question, Engineer Kombe.
Okay, I think the second question has not been answered. I did ask about the generation from the source.
Oh, yes.
Very component.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you. So I think what I can highlight as the main behavioral change activity that we pushed in this particular project is separation at source. So we brought out this element or this particular practice by first bringing out what it means and what kinds of waste streams can be separated. And like I said, behavior change is a work in progress. So even today, I could go to the market and find that, there's still some waste mixed here and there. But overall, you get to see this change or this understanding and this appreciation of separating the waste because of the effects that it has to the skip bin and also the effects that it has to their immediate environment, which is their market space.
Thank you, Engineer Kombe. We can have our next question from Mr. Muwemba Mwakasichizia.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would first like to say congratulations to Border. It was my pleasure to work on this project. And I just have a question regarding the digester. Engineer Angela, with regards to the digester, is it purely fed on organic material, or is any water and waste coming from the sewer lines that are being fed into your digester?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Mwemba. Indeed, it was such a pleasure, and your contributions are evident in the success of this project. For this particular system, it is 100% food waste. The reason why we went ahead, or the reason why it was designed in that way, is because of the reuse option that was proposed, or that is currently enacted, or that is currently in progress at the school. When it comes to reuse for wastewater, there are certain precautions that need to be taken because there's still a lot of research behind how best wastewater should be reused, and also the public health safety precautions that need to be taken, because wastewater requires many more treatment steps before you can reuse it, and that include both aerobic and anaerobic treatment steps. So what we are experiencing at this system is mostly anaerobic treatment. And so because of that, we do not introduce any wastewater from the toilets or from the bathrooms, no grey water from the showers. This is 100% organic waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Himwenga, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to Border for such a wonderful project that has indeed had a great impact on the community there from what we have heard today. Okay, so my question is just on, I wanted to find out, maybe I may have missed it in your presentation. I wanted to understand the business model behind the project. Are you selling the gas to the community? And how many houses have you been able to supply this gas to? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Himwenga. So the business model behind it, firstly, is that it's a pilot model. So it being a pilot model, obviously entails a lot of lessons that we're learning. The setup is that the waste generated in the market feeds the DEWATS system, and the byproducts, which is the effluent, the sludge, the stabilized sludge, and the biogas, are reused in the school. So these are not sold. These are directly supplied to 4 stations within the school, which is 3 households and the cafeteria. So these 4 are the ones that are utilizing the gas that is coming from this system. And in the near future, or the medium to near future, the school intends on connecting this biogas to their laboratory, their science laboratory, which is still under construction. So the reason why the the DESWAM side of things was not made into like a business model which is income generating is because of the agreement that, or the collaborative partnership that came in from the market and the school. The market didn't have space to implement, but the school did. And so the benefits from this system are being given to the school. And then when it comes to the MRF, which is the inorganic recyclables, the business model around that is it's more of like a private entity that is running and operating it. Border Zambia implemented it and handed it over to this individual, and the market deposit the waste there. Right now we are seeing a few glitches in it. I think that's something that we can highlight, and it's a business model we would want to revisit, especially with the introduction of the integrated solid waste management company, who have now been mandated to be the solid waste service, or the mandated institution for solid waste management in the city. So we intend to revisit the model where currently the private owner takes this waste, sorts it further, because what happens is that we have all kinds of plastic being fed there. It's further sorted, there's the PET, there's the thicker ones, the thinner ones. Those are separated and they are taken and sold to recyclers, depending on their type and their demand. So currently that's the business model for the two different streams of waste.
Thank you. Mukuka Musoma, please go ahead with your question.
I think the mic is muted. We can't hear you.
Mukuka Musoma, please go ahead with your question. We're not able to hear you.
Thank you very much for an informative presentation. You spoke about the collaboration that you have, and I wanted to find out if you have any research currently going on for the digester that you already commissioned, and see how they can be improved for the next projects that you have.
Thank you so much, Engineer Mukuka. Currently, there is no research outside of border that is happening. The research that we're doing internally has been around the production of gas, and also from a social perspective, I could say like engagement mechanisms, and as well as how, from the question that Dr. Himwinga brought up, business models. So we know that, if this has to be scaled up, it has to have a form of sustainability. And sustainability includes finance. So where is the money going to come from? Especially if we also bring in, the integrated solid waste management company, how do they come in and generate finances for this to even, roll it out in more markets? So that's currently, I could say, the research that's happening internally. We haven't had any individual or any organization come forth with that kind of interest to look deeper into specific aspects of the project. And I think I'm glad that you brought it up, because that would be interesting to have that kind of collaboration and get out more knowledge that can be used to scale up.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard Kasengo, please go ahead with your question. After that, we can have Mr. Lusungu Nyirenda.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer Angela, for that insightful presentation. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So I wanted to find out. I don't know if I missed this. What are the future plans and expansion strategies for the decentralization of solid waste system? Or are there any additional initiatives or improvement being considered so far? That's my first question. Then my second question is, have there been any collaboration or partnership established with maybe local authorities, waste management agents, or recycling companies to enhance the effectiveness of the centralized waste management system? Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kasengo. The first one is first question you asked is about additional plans in line with this particular project. The plan is that this particular system or this particular concept should scale up. So we did it deliberately in a more confined space or more confined public space like Longacres Market, because we wanted to use it as a platform to learn, and we wanted to use it as a platform to make whatever mistakes need to be made, so that when it's rolled out in a bigger place, there are fewer lessons and it's more of just establishing a functional way of having it in place. So any additional plans with the Longacres Market, there are no direct plans at the site, but the larger plan is that this particular model should be scaled up, and this will be the learning ground for scaling up. Then you asked about collaborations with like recyclers and institutions like that. We don't have that connection with recyclers directly, because the recyclers are interested in just the product. They're not interested in starting from waste separation, sorting it into the different types of plastics and so on. They just want the quantities that they can recycle and the types that they can recycle. So we don't come in with that kind of collaboration. We collaborate with the private entity or the institution that is interested to get this type of waste and take it to the recycler. And so we see this collaboration with this private entity. It's DNM Solutions, Waste Management Solutions, who are the ones operating the MRF at the moment. I could also speak of a collaboration with one of the cooperating partners, which is called Tandem Circular, who are also very much involved in the solid waste management space. They're the ones who did the waste audit, and we collaborated very closely throughout the project. So they came in to do the waste audit and quantify and quote unquote qualify what kind of waste streams are generated in the market. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Lutungu. Please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to find out from you, Engineer Angela, what was the overall total project cost? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the initial budget was at 27,000 euros, which included the hardware and the software components, and an additional 10,000 euros was added on post-project implementation. So we're looking at about 37,000 euros that was spent on this project.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I can just go to the chat now and read some of the questions that are on the chat. Then you can answer them, Engineer. So I think the first one has been answered, which is the total project cost. Oh, actually, that was the only question.
Yes. The other one was on the size of the digester, and I did mention, maybe I can just mention again, which is 70 cubic meters.
Engineer Leonard, do you have another question?
No, I'm done with my questions.
Okay.
Engineer, I think Ismail's got a question. can
Go
get,
ahead. So,
if I can just make a follow-up question to Engineer Songo.
Go ahead, please.
Just want to make a follow-up question on Engineer Songo's question. Talking about that cost, have you done anything?
We've lost the sound, engineer.
In comparison, that is cost of taking material to landfill. Just to do can you perhaps be able to see where the benefits are? Thank you.
Okay, so if I heard correctly,
Did you get me?
maybe I just repeat and you let me know if it's correct. You're asking if we've done a cost comparison on how much is being spent at the landfill before and after.
Correct. Any cost benefit analysis on the same page?
Okay. Thank you so much, Engineer Kombe. A cost comparison has not been done. However, a quantity comparison has been done. So it's our assumption is that because there is less being paid to go to the landfill. And like I mentioned, when as one of the outcomes, it would be that twice in a week the skip would be full before the implementation of this project. But now we see that even within 2 weeks, the skip truck is only coming to collect the waste once, or between 2 weeks, maybe it will be 1.5 times if you want to put it that way. So a cost comparison hasn't been made, but automatically, because there's less waste going, it means there is less that is being paid to be delivered that side. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a comment. I think going forward, it's very critical because decisions on such projects are made on the cost. So it's important that every time we are taking such projects, we do a cost-benefit analysis so that we see is it worth the spending or not. Those are very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer. That's very true, and yeah, it's something to be considered. Thank you.
Okay, Engineer Angela, I think we have no more questions from the participants, and we are at that time where we're supposed to close the meeting. I don't know if you have any closing remarks before we close.
Only to say thank you to EIZ, the Secretariat, for making this possible, and also to the invitation I got to present this project and the findings and the process of this project, and really to encourage that these conversations continue, and even to make them more practical, even at an individual level. I think we need to slowly get away from the mindset of waiting for somebody to especially deal with our waste. As waste generators, we also have a role to play in ensuring that we manage the waste that we generate. And one of them is simply just separating it, dealing with it in its individual states. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and also thank you for the questions, for the conversations. They have been insightful also from my end, and certain things that would amplify or be used even as we scale up. Thank you.
Okay, we have come to the end of our presentations. We are truly grateful as AIZ to be part of such an insightful webinar, and we do agree that we want to collaborate more with Borders Zambia to ensure that waste management is enhanced in Zambia. Thank you so much, Engineer Angela, and to all the participants that joined us. We are grateful. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening, everyone. The meeting is closed.
Thank you. Do we take a group photo?
Thank you very much.
Yes, we are definitely on your own birthday.
No indicative for engineer, my words. Well done, Engineer Angela.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer Eni.
High five for